Hello, and welcome to another edition of Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. And I am Devlin. You probably guessed that already. Anyhow, I hope you're having a great day, and thank you for pressing play or tuning in, because that means the world to me that you want to spend a little time with me, and hopefully I've got a very entertaining show for you. Coming up, I've got a look at some of the movies I saw in September. In the summer, I review, summer movies. I usually break them up into two parts. And I think people like hearing my movie reviews, or at least my head tells me people like hearing my movie reviews. So I decided, why do I just do it in the summer? So I'm going to actually start, as I said earlier, I'm going to start doing reviews at the end of each month for the movies that I've seen. And I've got 4 movies to talk about. That's coming up in a future segment. I'm also going to talk about a topic that's very taboo. Some people love it. Some people hate it. It's karaoke. And I'm going to talk to you about that. But first, I'm going to talk about unmotivation. In fact, this is a totally unmotivated speech. I know that sounds kind of weird and lame and kind of exciting somehow. I was thinking about it the other day. I see constantly in my life so many people who are motivated. And I think it's great, like I do. But sometimes I just sit there and watch them. And I think to myself, how come I'm not that motivated? Now, don't get me wrong. I work on projects that motivate me. I've done shows. I've worked on, as I say, I play some role playing, so I have to do a lot of preparation on that. But as far as like work goes, I'm not a very motivated person. And sometimes it makes me feel a little bad, but sometimes I think, why? So this is not going to be an inspirational thing unless it inspires you to, why the hell am I working so hard? Now, first of all, I have all the respect for you motivated people, especially if you're working to pay rent, put food on the table, take care of your kids. Awesome. I respect you too if you're just, making as much money as you can so you can have the nicest wardrobe and travel. Probably don't have the highest respect for you, but if that's what you like to do, then I respect you for doing that because that's what you do. But, I just hope one day you don't realize, oh shit, I made all this money and now I have nobody in my life and I'm going to die alone. Because you could have been spending time with friends or in relationships or anything. But anyhow, I respect if that's what you want to do. Now, I try to look back to see why I'm so unmotivated. Like, I think a lot of this comes with, a couple times I've been with Mike's side of the family. I'll put it on him because my family doesn't put pressure on me like this, and they don't put pressure on me, but when we're all talking about promotions and making money and, stuff like that, they always say, oh, you should go out for a manager where you work. And I always say, no, I really don't want that pressure. I don't, just to make more money when I have enough money to live on. And I've always been a person that really doesn't live beyond my means. I have a credit card, but I don't max it out. My parents taught me that early on because my mother and father always used to have big credit cards, especially around Christmas, and they were in debt a lot. And I didn't know it as a child. I think I've talked about it, how they did everything they could to give us good Christmases. But when I got older, I realized, okay, credit is bad unless it's important stuff. So I finally got a credit rating because I decided I have to get a credit card. But I wasn't ever motivated to, I don't drive, so I don't need a car. I've never been motivated to buy a house for multiple reasons. One, Mike and I both are not. To us, we have no interest in a house. And a lot of people say, but you're throwing your money into rent. And we don't see it that way because we're paying to live somewhere. And they say, but you have nothing to show for it. And I'm like, you know what? Mike and I don't like shoveling snow. We don't like taking care of grass. We would rather come home and spend time with each other or do our other housework that we have enough of as it is. And we have no interest in just, I think it's great when people are like, oh, I like doing all the gardening and stuff. Power to you. Okay? If I could guarantee buying a house and I could get some hot guys over to shovel my snow and, do some shirtless gardening and mowing the lawn, then, oh, hey, I'd be in buying a house. But the fact that I have to pay extra money and then I'm doing that and something I don't like to do and I'd just be mowing the lawn thinking of who the hell I'm going to kill that talked me into buying this. And so, they're always like, why don't you, buy a house, or why are you motivated? And as with credit cards, I got my credit card because everybody told me you need a credit rating. So I got my credit rating, but I only used the credit card for what's the word I'm looking for? It's slipping my mind because I'm so unmotivated. For important things, like if I buy a new pair of glasses, or some of my diabetes medication is quite expensive. So, or maybe not the diabetes, but maybe the cholesterol or what. But there's one that's really big that I always put on credit so I can pay off, in time. I haven't rung up big credit card bills, and by the time I've paid it off, I'm ready to use it again. I've actually had creditors calling me to say, we want to up your credit card amount. And they're all so excited about it, and I tell them that you're not going to because of the fact that you are basically, I don't use it enough. And then when they look at the accounts, they're like, oh yeah, you don't. So, that's the world we've created. They want to up your credit card amounts when you use it, not when you don't. And I don't. I use it for really important things. Every once in a while, if there's a big Christmas gift I want to get, I might use it too, only to help me pay it off. But usually I pay it off within a month or two, just because. So anyhow, I've never been, I don't live beyond my means. And, maybe I'd be more motivated if I was absolutely had no job or had money issues and stuff. But I don't need millions and millions of dollars. I've always thought to myself, if I was really rich, I think I would be dangerous. One, because I think I'd be a real big spender. And two, I just have a feeling I'd go out on adventures and things, and knowing my mind, I think I would go past, I guess, what you would call the point of no return, and I think I could get into a lot of trouble. I don't go to casinos that often because, one, I'm not a big fan of throwing my money away. I don't like just, when I do go to a casino, and I swear it's maybe been under 5 times, I always say, okay, I'm going to have $40, and once that's done, I'm finished. And then if I do win, I will play on my winnings and put the $40 away. The reason why is because I like to buy things. So, when I think of more than that, I think of, I could have bought that box set or that toy that I've wanted that's a little more expensive, and always talk myself out of it. I can always put money into what it could relate to. I could go to a restaurant and treat one of my friends, which, would make me happier because we're sharing an experience. So anyhow, so I've never been motivated, and I always felt that if I had too much money, it would be enough. Now, I am thinking of the future, but I've got my RSSPs or whatever they're fucking called. I can never say them. I never know if it's RSVP or RSPs. I think it's RSPs. That's how good I am with financing. But, I've got some, and I've made, attempts in the future. So I've got savings put away that I can't touch until I'm older, and they will continue to grow. So it's not like I'm living paycheck to paycheck. In fact, God forbid I lose my job, I'm good for a little bit because I have stuff in my other savings as well. And I still get to go buy toys and stuff. I actually asked Mike once, I said, "Are you bothered that I don't make a ton of money?" And first of all, he joked that he doesn't make a ton of money. But he says no. And then I said, "Do you bother that I shop more than you?" And he said, "No. What I like is you always have something to show for it. It's not like you're going out drinking or, spending it where you don't know, like the casino or something. Yeah, you buy lots of DVDs and toys and stuff like that, but they're on display. We see where the money went, and it makes you happy." So I'm glad I have a partner that understands me. Sometimes this family doesn't, and that's why I'm doing this unmotivational speech. I went and tried to figure out where this unmotivation comes from, and the first thing I thought of was that I remember my brothers, Paul and Ernie, both I remember them talking once, saying how they wish their moms and dads, our moms and dads, I guess we share those same moms and dads, would have motivated us more, pushed us to go into sports, pushed us to do better in our homework, pushed us to just take care of our teeth more, stuff like that. They were both quite adamant to blame my parents. And when they looked at me to join in, I said, "Well, you know what? You can only blame them so far, but the truth of the matter is once you've grown up and you don't have them to blame anymore, you basically can motivate yourself. And to put it all on your parents, to me, is even less motivating than me. Because as I said, when I put a project aside, or if I want to commit to a friendship or work on a relationship, I have the time. I motivate myself to do it, and I will move hell and high water to make time for those people. If it's a project like a show I'm doing, I've put on many shows, and even as lazy as I can get, I can still do the job when I know I have a deadline coming up. I was always like that in school too. And yeah, I'm not promoting it, but not everybody is for school. And I kind of hated the fact that you'd go to school and then you'd have to do the homework. And I would always be the one to wait till the last minute to do my homework. I usually did it with the TV on, and I would still manage to get passing grades. And I know in this day and age that's not to be seen, but some people are just not that motivated. And sadly, I think we push our kids a little too hard sometimes. And I'm not saying it's bad. If you see that your kid is excelling at something or they want, that's great. But you know what? When I think of my mother and father pushing, and they never did. We never were told, I remember I was on a floor hockey team once, and it's not like they came out to see my games. I don't think they had any interest in me talking about it. And I think nowadays there's nothing, more worse than when you see parents really pushing their kids. I like seeing the parents that kind of offer the kids different chances to do stuff, and then they kind of decide what they like to do. I see families that basically, are like so happy that their kids are into hockey or soccer or something like that, and so happy, and the whole family dresses up and goes out to support the kids. And I think, well, you know what? If you were shoving that down their throat since they were babies, why wouldn't they be in it? You could basically train anything. A lot of people think, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sports. I think, hey, again, if you teach your kids like these are different sports, which one would you be interested in? That's one thing. But if you're like constantly hockey, 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 well, of course they are. Because honestly, can't the same be said for parents that are raising kids to be, like kids in the KKK? When you start instilling stuff in their head, whether it's good or bad, it's going to be in there. So, the KKK can teach racism, but if a parent constantly is like, hockey, 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 watch it, love it, do it, want it. Then they act so surprised when their kids are like in hockey. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not putting down being in hockey. In fact, not at all. I think sports is a wonderful way to learn lots of different stuff. I can't tell you how much it is to be, but not all kids get that from it. Again, it's better when you show them more different things. Did you, instead of just going hockey, 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 did you show them martial arts? Did you show them ballet? Did you show them other things that they might be interested in too? Most of the time, not so much. Every once in a while, you meet a parent that does. And, I feel really sad for the kids that are forced to be doing stuff they don't want to do. And there are a lot out there. And on top of that, we're also forcing them that they have to get the best grades they can, because in grade 7, you need to think about what college courses you need to take. At grade 7, I was still trying to figure out my place in the fucking school. And my parents didn't push me, so that's why I was pretty much lost. But you know what? I turned into a good person and managed to get by on adequate marks. And you know what? I've never had to use any of the stuff I needed in school, except maybe English and basic math, which, I pretty much knew by the time I was in grade, 3, 4, then I have learned. For those of you thinking right now, what an ass, well, that's fine. This is my unmotivational speak. And quite frankly, I'm okay with that. I don't blame my parents. They raised me the way they could. And my parents didn't force us into anything. One of the greatest things my dad ever taught me was he wasn't going to force his kids into religion, because he was forced to sit there day after day. And he hated it. So when religion came, he decided we're not going to teach our kids religion because they're going to find it for themselves. And I respected that. My parents didn't push me into improv and performing in comedy. I did. So when I really want to be motivated in something, that's fine. So I always feel bad a little bit when people say, well, why don't you become a manager? I see the stress that my supervisors go through. And I know they don't make much more money than me. And even if they made tons more money, I wouldn't be happier, because I'd come home even more stressed than I already am. And then that might affect my relationship with Mike. It might affect my friendships. It might affect my personal life. The first year I was at Value Village, I worked, I was open availability. And that stopped me from doing a lot of improv, putting on shows, doing a lot of things. And it made me very miserable, like really miserable. I was also fighting a dangerous blue period. So, I eventually changed that and decided I'm going to weather the storm. A good friend of mine, Gabriella, once told me something beautiful that I will remember. She's told me wonderful things. And she told me that her mother used to tell her that God takes care of the stupid. And you know what? I sometimes put my faith into that now, because I find that even when I'm at my darkest, somehow I work it out. And whether that's God helping me out, or whether it's myself helping me out, or my friends helping me out, at the end of the day, I have to be the one to motivate myself. So, I'm not saying to stop being motivated. Continue doing what you're doing and what makes you happy. If making money so you can travel and wear the best clothes, if that makes you happy, by all means do it. I have all the respect for you. If you have no choice but to work hard for your partner or for your child or for your family, to pay for that house and all the specialties they need, that's fine. But if they get a little unmotivated sometimes, let them. Let anyone. Because I think we need a little unmotivation. Because we are now training the world into being the way it's supposed to be. And who has the right to say what it is? You need to drive. You need to own a house. You need to have kids. You need to have all this stuff. You need stuff. No, you don't. You need what you need. You need what you want. You don't need all the stuff that everybody is telling you, whether it's the media, whether it's your family, whether it's people. You need what you need. Don't fall into the trap that you have this automatic checklist of stuff you have to own, because you don't. You do not need it. You will know in your heart when it's something you need. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. People are trying to motivate you to make stuff that you don't need. If you want to be a supervisor, then go be a supervisor. If you need to get a new job, get a new job. All right, that's me and my unmotivational speech. Anyhow, what I am always motivated to do is go to the movies. And in the next set, I'm going to take a look at 3 movies that I got to see in the month of September. 4 movies I went to see in the month of September. And I'm going to talk about all 4 of them when we come back. So get your popcorn popping. Poppity, 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 popcorn. All right, got your popcorn? Got your drink? And sit back because we're about to talk some movies. As I said, I don't review movies that often. I do like little pieces for them, and on Mondo Nostalgia I'll actually review a movie. But I don't do it a lot here, but I've had some people say that they actually like hearing what I think of movies. So I've decided that at the end of every month I'm going to look at the movies I've seen that month, and I got to see 4 this month. So we're going to talk about all 4 and let you know what I thought. Now, the first movie is a holdover from summer that I didn't get to see, but I just saw recently. It's Jason Bourne. It's still playing in a couple of the smaller theaters, but should be out on Netflix soon and DVD, so I'll do the review anyhow. This is Matt Damon's 4th movie in the Bourne series, and of course, after the first 3 came out were major successes, they did try to redo it with Jeremy Renner in the lead with a movie called The Bourne Legacy. But it didn't really do well. So when Matt Damon agreed to come back, they were all very happy. And with the amount of money this movie made, they probably were even more happy because it went on to become one of the big hits of the summer. Fortunately, it got some mixed critical reviews. Now, first of all, what you need to know is, for me, I like the Jason Bourne movies. I like the 3 with Matt Damon. I wasn't as big on the Bourne Legacy, even though I do like Jeremy Renner a lot. And I liked Ed Norton in that movie as well. But there was something about it. It just didn't feel like a Bourne movie. They should have maybe just released it as a whole different entity. But anyhow, I liked all 3 of the Bourne movies. But the one thing I have to say is that I couldn't tell you the difference between any of them. As in, I probably could tell you a little bit more about the first one. But the other 2, as much as I know I came out of the theater loving them, they kind of all blended because they follow a similar formula. You know, Bourne doesn't know who he is. He winds up having these skills, and then he eventually has a phone call with one of his, adversaries. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for. And then, they wrap up and usually leave it in a mystery. And that formula works well. But if you told me, well, which is the one that featured this car chase? Or which is the one where this character died? I couldn't tell you because they're so interchangeable. Which tells me that as much as I enjoyed the Bourne movies, they kind of interspace and twine. The Bond movie's a little different because of the fact that they do seem to blend together too, but they have different actors in them, and they do really bigger set pieces. The new Jason Bourne film follows the same formula, but again, I found it rather entertaining. Will I remember most of it? No, this is just going to blend in with the other 3. The only reason I know Bourne Legacy is because Jeremy Renner was in it, and that's the thing about it, that it was different. But I did enjoy Jason Bourne. I thought it was quite good. I think Tommy Lee Jones is just a phenomenal foil for him. And then the woman in this, Alicia Vikander. I might be getting that wrong. She's been in a lot of movies lately, and everything she's in, she just brings the top of her game. I think she's been in Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Ex Machina. I can never pronounce that movie. Anyhow, she is definitely a woman to look forward to in the future just because she is just so amazing. And again, though, it follows similar beats, you know. Bourne is kind of at a crossroads, then he gets involved in something, then he has a conversation with his adversary. I think I got the word right now. Anyhow, and then, you know, basically it goes on there and is left open for, you know, future sequels. That doesn't say I didn't enjoy it, but it means that maybe the Bourne films just don't stick with me as well. One thing I do have to complain about is when they first show the trailer, there's an incredible money shot where Matt Damon looks like he's in underground fighting. And basically he, you know, does kind of an Indiana Jones thing where he just steps up and the guy's ready to fight and he just plows him and he falls right down to the ground. What I loved about this was that it was just an amazing money shot in the trailer. When you release the movie, a scene that people talk about in the trailer is something you need to keep. This scene is in the trailer, but they show it from an angle that isn't as impressive. And it was a little disappointing that they were like, why? Why would you do that? One of the most talked about scenes in the trailer. Why would you do that? Anyhow, I enjoyed Jason Bourne. And I think if you liked all the others, you're going to enjoy this too. As I said, some people said it fell flat. I felt it was just like the other ones and just as interesting because of the people, the places, and the action sequences were all quite good. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give Jason Bourne, we'll go a nice 6 out of 10. Yeah, we'll do that because that's what I'm going to do. Anyhow, let me check my notes here to see what is coming up next. Okay. Don't Breathe. This was a big hit through the August months and is still playing. And this is a little horror film that stars a lot of unknowns, but it stars a couple that I have heard of. Stephen Lang, who is a really ornery military guy, because I think he actually was a really military ornery guy. And Dylan Minnette, who has been making quite a name for himself in some movies like Goosebumps and Alexander's Really Horrible, Awful Fucking Day, or whatever that thing was called. A movie I actually liked, but it's got a horrible name to try to remember. Anyhow, Don't Breathe is a little horror film about 3 youths that desperately try to get out of their situations by robbing places, and they decide to do one more big score before they retire and head out. So they want to get a big score so they can leave their families and get out of, you know, Dodge or whatever the small town is, you know. It's just the way it is. And it's headed by this girl, played by the actress Jane Levy, who I don't think I've seen her in, but she is actually really good. And her and her boyfriend, and the boyfriend is played by Daniel Zavato. And then basically their friend along with them is Dylan Minnette. And they have lots of skills. One knows how to break in, enter. One has some security knowledge because he works at a security thing. And these young people pick a blind guy to go after. Now, they do play up the moral sense. So even though they're thieves, they make sure to let you know that they're not horrible people. Well, the boyfriend is. But the girl, you know, by Jane Levy is not. She's sympathetic, but she has no choice. And this is important for the movie. But anyhow, I'm not putting it down in any way, but they basically show you her life sucks. Her mother's quite abusive, and she's trying desperately to get her little sister away from her. And there's nothing wrong with that. Anyhow, Her boyfriend's a real dick, and Dylan Minnette is the guy she really should be with, and we see a little triangle in their building. And they both say we shouldn't be robbing a blind man, but they decide to do it anyhow, keeping in mind that two of them are fairly sympathetic and really don't want to do this. Anyhow, when they get there, they find out this blind man is not as feeble as they think. In fact, he is an old soldier who basically has heightened senses and winds up getting them all three locked in the house and begins kind of home aloneing their asses, as in tries desperately to find out exactly who's breaking into his home and tries to stop them, which adds a beautiful sense of, well, who are we really voting for here? We've got thieves and we've got somebody protecting themselves but trying to kill them to do it. As the story goes on, and in no way is you are going to get any kind of spoilers from me, he basically, secrets are found in the house, and you start really questioning who the hell are you voting for here. It's a wonderfully done movie, and horror has been done to death. So when an unusual one comes out that is really well done, it's nice to praise it. And I'm glad this has been, because this movie cost so little to make. I think something like $5 million, and it's already grossed over $100 million. And it's worthy of it. It takes the home invasion movie and spins it on its ass. And I like movies where everybody has a dark secret. And I don't know why, because I think in reality, it's probably more often than not. If you get a chance to see Don't Breathe, especially with Halloween coming up in the next couple of weeks, I think you should check it out. It is a wonderful little set piece, and I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Now, I didn't think it was as brilliant as other people are saying it, but I think it's damn good. And it's definitely a roller coaster that'll make you jump a couple of times. Coming up next, I am talking about the movie War Dogs. This stars Miles Teller, Jonah Hill, and Bradley Cooper. And this is actually based on a true story. And I remember, I'm not the hugest reader, but for a while I got a subscription to Rolling Stone because I really like the articles. And I remember reading the articles that they had about the guys in War Dogs, especially the one played by Miles Teller, because they were just a couple of really practically kids in their early 20s who just were unsatisfied with life and then found themselves into the world of arms dealing, where they actually, would work with, the states and, find ways to be kind of the go-between to get military stuff that the American Army needed. And it's a fascinating movie, and I absolutely love the style, because this is almost a movie that some people I could see having problems with, because in some ways it looks like it's promoting the lifestyle, because we see more of the glamour of it than we see of the scary side of it. But don't get me wrong, they do deal with that side. And it is a really well done movie, but it's very Wolf of Wall Street. It's very Fight Clubbish, It's like in your face, like so well done. A big soundtrack where the songs are really used effectively. You've got Miles Teller, who's just an absolute really great up-and-coming actor. He was really amazing in Whiplash. Jonah Hill has really proven himself to be a great character actor. He has done a lot of, the comedies and stuff like that. But you got to be reminded that Jonah Hill has been up for a couple of Oscar nominations. And, depending on the year, he may even see one from this one if it wasn't released too early in the year for him, but he's really good in this role. And Bradley Cooper, a really subdued performance from him. He's a small part in this, but his character is just so, awesomely creepy, if that's a word. It's just like, you're just like, I like him, but I can tell I can't trust him. And you have to wait till the end of the movie to find out if you really can trust him. War Dogs the fact that it's based on a true story and you see how this movie unfolds, how these two, kids basically don't know what the hell they're doing, then find themselves in the middle of all this. It's just amazing, and it's definitely entertaining. But it does glamorize, making money and being motivated. So there you go. I basically brought it around to my unmotivational speech. But it does glamorize a little more than things, so some people could have troubles with it. I'm going to give this movie an 8.5 because I really liked it. And I think it was the best movie I saw in September, which is sad to say because I still have one more to go, so I've already revealed I don't like it as much. But I liked War Dogs. Check it out. Still playing, or, check it out streaming or DVD or whatever, Blu-ray, whatever you watch it on. Finally, I have got The Blair Witch. I think it's just called Blair Witch. And this is another return to those creepy woods where the first one, which believe it or not, was released like 16 or 17 years ago, I think it was, 1999. And I remember when I first saw Blair Witch Project, I saw it in theaters. This must have been before I started not going to see horror movies at theaters, because of the fact that I decided that sometimes they creep me out a little too much, and I'd rather watch them in the privacy of my own home. And I remember thinking to myself, this can't be that scary. And for some people that don't know, this was the first found footage film, and still one of the best in my opinion. So all those movies like Cloverfield and Paranormal Activity and Chronicle, those movies all have this movie to thank, because this was the one that started off. Again, a movie made very cheaply, wound up making like 300 million worldwide or something like that. And it became a national phenomenon. So good, they released a sequel within a year that was absolutely dreadful. One of the worst sequels of all time, Blair Witch, Book of Shadows. I remember going to that in the theaters and practically vomiting on my way out. It was so bad because it wasn't a found footage film. It was a weird story that they tried to connect with it to hit while the iron was hot, but they basically did everything against what the first Blair Witch did. Now, I know Blair Witch doesn't work for everyone. Blair Witch Project didn't work for many. Some loved it and some didn't. I think it determines your imagination level. I remember watching it and just being, I think I talked about it in my 10 favorite frightening movies last Halloween, where I basically sat there and said, oh my God, if I see something in these woods, because they just show, them running or something, and I said, I see one face or something, I would just literally fucking jump 3 rows in front of me. So anyhow, as I said, I don't really do horror movies in theaters that often, but every once in a while I do when I need to see one. And I decided Blair Witch, this might be the sequel we've been waiting for. Well, good news, it is the sequel we have been waiting for. This is a much better sequel than Book of Shadows, which we can just now put away or use it when we teach a class on how not to do a horror sequel. And basically, I just absolutely enjoyed a good chunk of this movie. What I liked first and foremost was the fact that there's a lot more technology in the world since 1999, and they use a lot of it. They use cameras that you can wear on your ear. They use drones. They use GPS. Stuff that wasn't around, or not at least to the average person. The first movie basically is a bunch of people yelling about a map. A lot of kids nowadays don't even know what the hell a map is, or know it from Google Maps or from GPS. But an actual folding map? Anyhow, I like that they find a way to connect the movie, because basically it is Heather, one of the girls that went missing. Her younger brother, who was a baby when she went disappearing, sees footage on YouTube that convinces him that his sister might still be alive. In fact, she might be part of all this. And they also look up, and it's basically a group of friends, and they meet up with a couple people who shot the film, who want to go camping with them. So bringing two strangers with you was a little bit, kind of weird, but I also liked it. It had some tension. And there's some great tension in this movie, and there's some parts that are good. The only thing is the movie kind of falls apart at pieces. First of all, the movie does have a little bit of glamour. Yes, the cameras look better, but everybody kind of looks like they're actors. There's some pieces that I'm just not buying as just regular people. I did like the couple that's the kind of like the rednecky thing, and I'm not playing that. They basically show a scene where they're, basic rednecks when you get to see their home and stuff like that. And I like that because it adds the element of going camping with two strangers right there. That puts fear into me a little bit because that's going to be trouble. And then there's some great unraveling, and it is all very entertaining, but there's some bits that are just ridiculous. Number one, there's some editing cuts in this that are just so bad. And what I find weird is the first one was like found footage, as in we found a couple of cameras, so we put it all together. And it was so real that people actually set up search parties because they really felt these were real people. Yeah, people are gullible. We know that. But you know what? Back in the day, it's actually refreshing to see how gullible people were. I didn't hear one person going looking for these new people. So anyhow, the people got dirty in that movie. They got this. And although there is some stuff, they do take it a little bit more. In fact, I think there's even some CGI in this movie, which I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of for a found footage movie. Well, unless you're doing a Cloverfield or a Paranormal Activity or something. But anyhow, the movie has some wonderful twists. It's got a nice setup, and then they just kind of lose me at parts. And it follows similar beats to the first movie, but every time it looks like they're going to take it a little more, which they do, but they could take it of so much more. And they didn't do that, and it kind of left me a little cold to this movie. In fact, it's got one of the dumbest scenes from a horror movie ever. And I can't forgive it for that, so I have to knock a few points off just for that. And I won't tell you what it is, but it involves doing something in the dark where you can barely walk and run. And they decide to do something that's just even more ridiculous in the middle of the pitch dark where all you have is the light from your camera. And I can't forgive it. You know what? Close your ears if you don't want to hear it. But a character actually climbs a tree. And, you can barely walk and see in front of you. And then you start deciding to climb a tree with the smallest branches that you could ever see. To me, in the dead of night, to me is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I won't tell you what they were doing because they did try to do a purpose. But there's no way they would. Anyhow, it felt really forced and fake to me. Anyhow, and The Blair Witch, I will have to drop down to a 5.5 because I did find it enjoyable, but I felt it could have been a lot better. And even though it does improve on some of the things from the original, the first one will always be the first one, which means that it was exciting, it was new, we still got creeped out by people in the shadows. If you want to see a better horror movie, definitely go for Don't Breathe. It's a lot of more fun. Can't wait to see what else comes out closer to Halloween. Anyhow, there are my reviews for September 2016, and I will be back at the end of October and talk about the movies I've seen in that month, if I get out to the theater, but you know me, I probably will. Anyhow, if I don't go to the movies, I like to go to karaoke once in a while, and I'm going to talk about that next. The word karaoke. Some people hear it and they just get excited. They already are looking for the songbook to put what they want to sing. And some people hear it and just want to cringe. They want to run away and don't want to even think about singing or hearing anyone else sing. I've never actually talked about karaoke, but I enjoy it. I don't do it quite as often as I used to, but I always think it's quite fun. And I like that it's still around, but it's kind of become almost a rebellious thing now to do. Karaoke, I don't know the true history of it. I guess I could have looked at it, but I'm very unmotivated today, so we'll go with that. But I know I started to hear a lot about it in the 90s, and I remember going to my first karaoke, and my brother became obsessed with karaoke, so we wound up going a lot. And I enjoyed it, I always did, but you know, there was a social aspect to it that I think I probably enjoyed more because I'd go to bars and meet people and meet new friends and most of them are gone now because they were karaoke friends. Once you stop doing it, that's it. But anyhow, what I love about the karaoke is that it's just a fun time and sometimes you get to hear songs that you've forgotten about or really somebody's going to do this at karaoke kind of thing. Now, for those who really don't know what karaoke is basically bars used to run it, and they still do, some still do, and you pick songs from a book or a catalog of some sort, and then you put it up there, and you go up and you sing the song using lyrics and a microphone, and they usually have it on a TV, and you follow the lyrics along and sing along and hope that everybody enjoys your choice. Some people don't care if they do, they just sing it for themselves. Some people sing the same song over and over again. Being renowned for my wealth of music in my library, I did have a couple go-to songs, but I tended to change it up a lot because I like so much music styles. My first time going to karaoke, I believe, was up in Font Hill. No, Font Hill was when I eventually went. But my first time was when my brother and sister-in-law at the time, they lived in Dunville, and their local Legion had karaoke. And my brother Paul's friend Al Callender was running it, somebody he worked with. And Al is a wonderful man, and I don't know where he is, but he was just an amazing singer. I believe I also saw him he was the lead singer in a cover band, and he was just an incredible voice. An African American man, maybe African Canadian we'll go with, and that's only important because of the story. I have to say that he is a black man, and as I said, just a beautiful, beautiful voice. Whether he's singing some oldies or just some like good soul, like super freak kind of thing. And when I had to go up to do my very first song, when you lose your karaoke virginity, I decided, I don't know why, but I was going through a Motown thing, and I decided to pick a song called The Tracks of My Tears. Okay? I think it's Smokey and the Miracles, and I think I'm losing my mind here because I'm so unmotivated. But anyhow, I picked The Tracks of My Tears. And basically I went up to sing, and I'm already nervous because this is pre-improv. So I was very shy and not the kind to just be standing in front. And basically I was nervous, waiting for the song to start, trying desperately to remember how the melody goes and why did I pick this song. Then just before it starts, I hear Al Callender talking to his friend who was helping him with the karaoke. He ran it. And he basically said, "Oh, what a wonderful choice. And Paul is such an amazing singer. I can only imagine what we're going to get from his little brother." And then I'm like, "Oh, okay, no pressure there at all. And my brother is an amazing singer. But we have different vocal styles, so I'm nervous already." Then Al continues with, "Ooh, Smokey and the Miracles. This one's not easy, And so as much as I thought I like Al Callender a lot, at that moment I was like, okay, just shut up, Al. I need to do my first song, and I am so scared. So anyhow, I remember being very weak voiced, but I built as the song went, and a beautiful, beautiful song. I'd sing it for you now, but that just seemed like pandering. And I know you're wishing, well, okay, here's a bit of it. Oh, take a good look at my face. You see my smile looks out of place. If you look closer, it's easy to trace the tracks of my tears. Now, that would sound better with music and that, but that was my first karaoke virgin song. And after I was done, I got applause, but, everybody got applause. And Al said, really great job. A tough song to sing, and you pulled it off. And, I may not have hit Smokey's desirable tones, but I did pretty good. And then I fell in love with it, and we would start hitting every karaoke. The Font Hill was a wonderful thing because I believe I met a really good friend there, Andrew Carruthers, who was known as the Karaoke Kid. And, he's got two amazing kids right now and a step daughter, and it keeps him very busy. And I do hear from him once in a while on Facebook. And we got to meet him because we were headed to the drive-in one night. And they had a drive-in way up near Dunville. And we passed karaoke tonight. And my brother was so obsessed that he talked us out of the movie, and we went to karaoke, and I believe that's where we meet him. I might be totally wrong. But anyhow, we had an amazing time there, and meeting Andrew was fun because he had just, a huge library. He probably had one of the biggest karaoke libraries. He did it for quite some time, but I don't think he does it anymore. And yeah, we had a lot of fun with it, and karaoke became just our thing, And then it became really popular, and it was getting hard to actually sing because everybody was singing. So you'd have to wait. In the early days of karaoke, not a lot of people would try it, so you only had to wait maybe 20 minutes, half an hour to go up. But when it got really popular, you had to wait like an hour and a half. And, it's still good for the social aspect, but if you're there just to want to sing, it started getting to the point why am I doing this? I can just go sing in the shower or something. I remember some wonderful stories. I remember we used to go to this really rough bar, and I can't remember where that is, but it was up in our Dunville days, and it was just, we were told it's a rough place, but they have great karaoke there. But there's at least one fight that breaks out every night. And you could see it. You could see it. People were there. Some people were there to sing, and the other people were there to get drunk and carouse. And there were lots of vocal, people that would be thrown out because they knew it was going to lead to a fight. And we actually saw a fight break out at one point. And the thing that was great about this bar was that we honestly got to you get to sing stuff because a lot of people didn't listen to you, and they didn't care what you sung, so you get to try different stuff. I remember I actually butchered Believe by Cher just as it was coming out. So I was horrible at it, but it was fun to sing, and nobody cared because nobody listened. Anyhow, so I remember one time I decided a song came out from a TV show that I really wanted to sing, and I thought this was the place to sing it because nobody ever listens to you. But that night I found out that there are some songs that the whole bar will stop and look at you and wonder, what the fuck is he singing? And I did a little song from a show called South Park called Chocolate Salty Balls. And it had just come after the Live Aid, or the South Park Live Aid parody they did. And Chef Aid, I believe it was called. And I wanted to sing this song, and I thought, well, nobody's going to hear me anyhow. Well, there I am in this rough and tumble bar, where people are ready to fight at a minute's instant. And suddenly I noticed that all eyes are on me singing Suck on My Salty Chocolate Balls. And I was very nervous because nobody was making a sound, just thing. And then after I was done, I literally had applause and laughter, and I felt really relieved because I felt I might have been one of those bar fights. And so it was an amazing time. There's wonderful times. A lot of times when you sing karaoke, people think, oh, everybody's going to judge me. I'll tell you right now, most people aren't even listening. If you play a song they really like, they'll be focused on you, but most people are just buying more beers or talking to their friends. Every once in a while, you might get some drunk women dancing. Woo, they're playing my jam, and I love having that. I found as I got older in karaoke, if I ever see old, not old, but housewives out having a good time, having a drink. If I sing Copacabana by Barry Manilow, they're going to get up and dance. And yeah, the song still translates, believe it or not. Anyhow, a couple of times I did sing where I had moments where I felt I captured the bar. And those were moments that were just amazing because something happened. Now, my voice can be hit and miss, and I usually pick songs that don't challenge me. Some of my go-to songs are like Crazy Little Thing Called Love by Queen. I tend to do Bad Moon Rising a lot. When I'm with my friends, I love doing The Rainbow Connection by Kermit because I remember one time singing that and seeing a whole bunch of my staircase friends all swaying and dancing together in the back. And every time I think of Rainbow Connection, I think of that. Tearing up here. Anyhow, the other times that I caught everybody stopping, I did a couple of songs. One I did At This Moment by Billy Vera and the Beaters. And I can really do this song hit and miss. But that night, not only did I capture a lot of people with all the little things at the end, you know, I actually won a t-shirt that night for Best Vocal Performance. And even though it was just a t-shirt, I was very proud that they picked me for my rendition of that. I also remember doing Meatloaf's 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad. And with Meatloaf, again, I don't always hit it. I actually think I do his song Heaven Can Wait. And if you don't know that song, check it out. He never really released it as a single, but probably one of the most beautiful things Meatloaf has ever sang. But I did 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad. And I remember noticing the whole audience had stopped. There was something about my voice that night. I've tried to do it a couple other times, and it just doesn't happen. At one time, I actually did a really sincere, heartfelt version of science fiction double feature from Rocky Horror Picture Show that I remember just seeing everybody just be quiet and listen to. I don't know, I really put my love for movies in it, and I think it translated because I remember people were just like, that was an amazing rendition. And it really, I went through a phase where I really started loving that song because it is just it's a love song to B movies. So why shouldn't I give it some love when I sing it? I've had a lot of memorable times at karaoke, and I remember like little things like singing duets with my brother, which I absolutely always loved. Singing with my friend Dave and my brother Paul. We used to sing as the Budgies, and we'd do Bee Gees classics. I remember us doing, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? And I think we did You Should Be Dancing, and it was really great. I remember with a couple of friends, my brother and me and Beth Clinton and Terry Wakeford did an amazing California Dreaming by the Mamas and Papas. I've just so many great times. I remember getting up with a good friend, John Hart, at the staircase singing Picture by Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow, and making that song a new meaning with 2 men singing it and loving it and loving that he was okay with me singing, a breakup song with him as the woman. And it was a great lot of fun. I remember when I started singing controversial songs, like when I sang I Kissed a Girl. And being gay, it adds a whole new twist to it because I don't really have to change that many of the lyrics. I think there's one lyric I have to change. But people I remember the reaction I got when I was like, I kissed a girl, I hope my boyfriend doesn't mind it. And, just seeing the reaction, I remember a friend of mine, Hugh MacLeod, just losing his shit when he was like, just couldn't believe I was singing that. One last time I'll talk about was I remember they were doing a karaoke at a great place called Ruoff's, and Sue and Brian, this couple were the karaoke masters that day, were just doing an amazing show, and they actually had the music piped outside, and I decided to do Tom Jones's What's New Pussycat. Now, for those of you who don't know that song, he goes through, your sweet little pussycat eyes, your sweet little pussycat nose. And at one point, he says, your sweet little pussycat lips. And I remember that I decided to drop one of the words. So I actually sang, your sweet little pussy lips. And my brother could not believe that I sang pussy lips and was so proud of me. I've done many shows that he has seen. I don't think I've seen him more prouder than when I just sang pussy lips out to people. And then my reaction when I realized that this was being piped out to other things. As I said, besides the Karaoke Kid and Sue and Brian, my good friends Peter and Kim, they do H2H Productions, and they do an amazing karaoke night. And they've taken it into the digital age where, they can get songs almost immediately for you. And it's just a wonderful system. And they don't do it quite as often. I think karaoke has become kind of rebellious. There was a time where everybody did karaoke, and almost every bar had a karaoke night. Then when it got oversaturated, it kind of disappeared, and people actually took it into their own homes. There were karaoke channels, and you could buy karaoke machines that you could play at home. But karaoke, I recently went last year, so not too recently, but within the year, and I was amazed that there was still a calling for it, but it was almost rebellious now. I went to a great place called Tracy's Place on the mountain where they do it every night. And they were still getting good turnouts and stuff. And they even did a family night earlier in the day. So kids could even come out and sing. And I liked that it still pops up now and again. And there are people that are excited when it does. Some people are even pretend like they're not excited, but actually excited when you see them look through the book. And they're like, oh, what am I going to sing? What am I going to do? Because for a little while, you get to be a star. Even if you only turn one person's head, they're listening to you sing. You get to be a rock star for a minute. And some of us don't get to feel that, what it's like. Now, I do improv, and I've done my own shows, so I've had the rock star moments. But still, when I sang for a shy kid before I did improv, it was very big to just go up and sing something. And then when I started picking songs that were not crowd pleasers, but songs that meant something to me, and I didn't care if anybody else got it. Whether I did one of my Olivia Newton-John songs like I Honestly Love You, or, one of those that I didn't care. But I like that it's kind of rebellious now, because not every bar has it every week. And not everything, but you see there's people that still have that spark when they hear the word karaoke. Other people still are like, oh, I don't want, oh, yeah, horrible, yeah, who came up with that? But you know what? I love that there's still an audience for it. And I love that it's kind of rebellious now. That when you do it, you almost feel like, look at us, we're all doing karaoke behind the world's back. And it does kind of feel like that. And what I also like is there's more of a variety out there now. When I go to places like when the Staircase does it periodically, or a place like Tracy's Place, you saw a variety of music. When I first started and you'd go to the Legion, the amount of country music was insane. Now, I don't mind country music, but when you only have a few country music and you hear Divorce by Tammy Wynette, 3 times in a night, that's just too much. Or Crazy by Patsy Cline. I think Patsy Cline's Crazy is one of the best songs ever written. But the truth of the matter is when you hear it several times in a night, you kind of get away from it. One of the best times I've had, which I'm going to leave you with at karaoke, is when I actually was asked by the Karaoke Kid to judge a night of karaoke. And I loved it. I loved doing that. It was fun. It was around the time that American Idol had started, and the height of karaoke was still up there. And basically, they wanted to do something like that, and they wanted impartial people. Because the Karaoke Kid never really wanted to do that. He was always thought the the bar takes favoritism and they always pick people who spend a lot of money at the bar. So he only agreed to do it if he could get judges that were impartial and didn't pick people for their bar tabs, and literally got the best singer. So I remember it was great, but people took it so serious. I know at the end of the night when we had made our choices, and it was controversial. We picked somebody who didn't spend a lot at the bar, and just like Andrew said, they weren't too thrilled, the bar, because they wanted someone who supported the bar more. Anyhow, I remember though, telling some of the contestants, you were really good. And I remember, their parents or something going, then why didn't you vote for them? Well, I didn't even respond because as far as they know, I might have voted for them. Maybe nobody else did. Anyhow, it was a really rewarding experience and maybe was one of the things that led me to teaching improv or being there for improv. Whatever the case, I still enjoy karaoke now and again. I don't go too often, and if I want to sing, I'll just sing. I'll just put something on YouTube or just sing here. But every once in a while, I do like to get out there and sing, and I still can think of some songs I want to do in karaoke and some duets I'd like to do with some people. Anyhow, that's my day. I'm almost tempted to go look where the karaoke is. But maybe we'll do that, but it's rebellious. If I do, I couldn't tell you. Anyhow, I had a great time talking with you. I hope you enjoyed the show. It was a lot of fun to put together, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon.